Fossils are like time capsules from the distant past, offering us a glimpse into life on Earth long before humans ever walked the planet. They tell stories of ancient creatures, lush forests, and prehistoric oceans, preserving moments from millions and even billions of years ago. When you think of fossils, images of towering dinosaurs or strange marine creatures may come to mind, but fossils can be much more than just the bones of animals. They can be imprints of plants, traces of once living organisms, or even the footprints left behind by creatures as they roamed the earth. The process of fossilization is a rare and remarkable phenomenon. For something to become a fossil, a series of unlikely events must occur. Most living things, when they die, are quickly broken down by natural processes such as decay or scavenging. Very few end up preserved as fossils. And yet, the fossils we do find tell us so much about the history of life on Earth, about species that no longer exist, environments that have transformed, and even the gradual shifts in the planet's climate over time. To truly appreciate what fossils are and how they are formed, we need to journey back in time to the moment when an animal, plant, or other organism dies. It could be millions of years ago when a dinosaur takes its last steps along the shore of a long-gone sea, or it could be a simpler, older creature, like a trilobite, that lived in the ancient oceans of the Paleozoic era. Whether it's a mighty T-Rex or a tiny sea snail, the process of fossilization often begins in the same way, with the burial of the remains. When an organism dies, whether it's a dinosaur or a plant, it usually starts to decompose right away. Scavengers may eat the flesh, and bacteria break down the soft tissues. But in certain cases, if the organism is quickly buried by sediment such as mud, sand, or volcanic ash, it is protected from these natural forces of decay. Rivers, lakes, oceans, and floodplains are some of the best places for this to happen. The sediment covering the remains not only shields them from scavengers but also slows down the decomposition process. Over time, more and more layers of sediment pile on top, eventually becoming compressed and turning into rock. This is where the magic of fossilization begins. As the sediment hardens into rock, minerals in the surrounding water start to seep into the bones, shells, or other hard parts of the organism. These minerals gradually replace the original organic material, turning what was once bone or wood into stone. This process, called permineralization, is one of the most common ways fossils are formed. Permineralization is how many of the most famous fossils, like dinosaur bones, are preserved. The original structure of the bones is often still intact, but it has been completely transformed into a stone replica. This allows paleontologists, the scientists who study fossils, to examine the fossilized bones and learn about the anatomy, behavior, and life of the organism that left them behind. Some fossils are so well preserved that tiny details, like the texture of the skin or the structure of feathers, can still be seen. But not all fossils are made from bones. In fact, some of the most informative fossils come from plants, shells, and even the footprints or burrows of animals. These are called trace fossils, and they provide a different kind of information. While body fossils, like bones and shells, tell us what an organism looked like, trace fossils give us clues about how that organism lived. For example, a fossilized footprint can reveal how fast an animal was moving, how large it was, and whether it walked on 2 legs or 4. Similarly, burrows and nests can show us how certain animals built their homes or raised their young. One of the most fascinating types of fossils is the amber fossil. Amber is fossilized tree resin that has been hardened over millions of years. Insects, leaves, and even small animals like frogs and lizards have been found perfectly preserved in amber. These creatures were trapped in sticky tree resin, which protected them from decay. Over time, the resin hardened and turned into amber, creating a kind of natural time capsule. Because amber preserves organisms in such fine detail, it can provide a wealth of information about life in the past. For example, amber fossils have shown us prehistoric insects with their wings, antennae, and even colors still visible. Fossilization doesn't just capture moments of life on land, it also preserves creatures that lived in ancient oceans. Many of the oldest fossils we've discovered come from marine environments, where conditions for fossilization are often ideal. One of the most iconic examples of marine fossils is the trilobite, an extinct group of arthropods that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. Trilobites are often found in incredible detail, with their segmented bodies and intricate exoskeletons preserved in stone. These fossils give us a window into the ancient seas, where trilobites swam, scuttled along the ocean floor, and thrived in ecosystems that existed long before fish, reptiles, or mammals had evolved. Fossils also allow us to trace the evolutionary history of life. Over time, species change, adapt, and sometimes go extinct. The fossil record is like a book, with each fossil acting as a page that tells part of the story of evolution. By studying fossils, paleontologists can piece together how different species are related and how they evolved over millions of years. For example, fossils of early horses show how these animals evolved from small, forest-dwelling creatures into the larger, grassland grazers we know today. Similarly, fossils of early humans, or hominins, show the gradual changes in our ancestors that eventually led to the emergence of Homo sapiens. One of the most significant discoveries in the history of paleontology was the realization that birds are descended from dinosaurs. Fossils like Archaeopteryx, a dinosaur with both feathers and reptilian features, provided the first concrete evidence of this evolutionary connection. This discovery transformed our understanding of both dinosaurs and birds, showing that the line between the two groups is not as distinct as once thought. Today, we know that birds are the only surviving group of dinosaurs, and fossils continue to reveal new insights into how this incredible evolutionary transition took place. While fossils are often associated with large animals like dinosaurs and mammoths, microfossils, tiny fossils that can only be seen under a microscope, are equally important for understanding Earth's history. Microfossils include things like pollen grains, tiny shells from plankton, and even bacteria. These small fossils are invaluable to scientists because they can tell us about past climates, ecosystems, and even the health of ancient environments. For example, by studying microfossils in sediment layers, scientists can reconstruct what the climate was like millions of years ago, including periods of warming and cooling. Fossils also play a key role in helping us understand mass extinction events, moments in Earth's history when a large percentage of species died out in a relatively short period of time. One of the most well-known mass extinctions is the one that wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs around 66 million years ago. Fossils of plants and animals from this time period show a sudden and dramatic change in life on Earth, providing evidence of the catastrophic impact of an asteroid that struck the planet, causing widespread fires, tsunamis, and a nuclear winter that blocked out sunlight for months or even years. Fossils from this period, such as the remains of dinosaurs found in places like North America, give us a clear picture of how life changed in the aftermath of this mass extinction. But they also show us the resilience of life. While many species went extinct, others survived and thrived in the new conditions. Mammals, in particular, began to diversify and evolve, eventually leading to the rise of species like primates and ultimately humans. The fossil record is far from complete, and there are still many gaps in our understanding of Earth's history. Fossilization is a rare process, and many species left no trace behind. Soft-bodied organisms, like jellyfish or worms, are especially unlikely to become fossils because they don't have hard parts that can be easily preserved. Additionally, certain environments, like tropical rainforests, are less likely to produce fossils because the conditions for preservation are not as favorable. As a result, much of Earth's past is lost to time, and paleontologists must piece together the story of life from the fragments that remain. Despite these challenges, new fossil discoveries are constantly being made. Each year, paleontologists uncover fossils that challenge our understanding of the past or reveal new species that were previously unknown. These discoveries come from all over the world, from the deserts of Mongolia to the icefields of Antarctica. Some fossils are found in well-known fossil beds, like the Burgess Shale in Canada, which has yielded incredibly detailed fossils of Cambrian-era creatures. Others are discovered by accident, as when construction workers or miners stumble upon the remains of ancient animals. Fossils are not just relics of the past, they are also valuable resources for understanding the future. By studying fossils, scientists can track how species have responded to changes in climate, environment, and ecosystems over millions of years. This knowledge is crucial for predicting how modern species, including humans, might respond to the environmental challenges of today, such as climate change, habitat loss, and pollution. Fossils provide a long-term perspective on the resilience and adaptability of life, as well as the consequences of rapid environmental changes. In a way, fossils connect us to the deep history of our planet. They remind us that life on Earth has been evolving for billions of years, and that we are just one small part of that ongoing story. The creatures preserved in fossils, whether they lived millions of years ago or thousands of years ago, were once part of thriving ecosystems, much like the ones we see today. By studying fossils, we gain a greater appreciation for the diversity and complexity of life, as well as the forces, both natural and human-made, that shape our world. As we continue to unearth fossils from the ground, we are not just discovering the remains of long-dead creatures. We are uncovering the history of life itself, a story that stretches back to the very beginnings of Earth. Each fossil is a piece of that story, a window into a world that no longer exists but that still has much to teach us. Whether it's the bones of a dinosaur, the imprint of a leaf, or the delicate wings of an insect trapped in amber, fossils are the key to understanding where we came from and where we might be headed in the future.